Dale a reporting. The reporting button has been pushed. The recording button has been pushed. This is a Jay and Gary show, an official Jay and Gary show. Okay, to make it official, I have to do this. And then probably do this. Once upon a time, I was the king of the dial. I used to be a radio guy. What happened to me? I'm just another idiot with a pod. And then something like this. This is our the right word, titular, to which I chuckle. Title for the show, Freedom to Shut Up. I don't know if we're ever going to get there. We'll see. We'll see if we talk about that. And so here on the screen, it's me, Jay's brother Gary, and you. And you. That's your cue.
Dale.
Jay's son Dale. We were expecting Sarah to be on the show, and she just MIA on our communications medium. So I don't know if we're going to get her or not. We'll find out. But we wanted to do a show just to do a show. So that's what we're here doing. The title, Freedom to Shut Up, is something suggested by Sarah because she's going to school. And that came up in one of her classes. I think it was a civics class or something like that. Do they even do civics classes anymore?
I didn't have any 10 years ago. Yeah. 15 years ago.
Yep. But she's in junior college now. Among other things, being a mom, working at a restaurant. The girl is busy. And she brought that up in our family chat, and it's a subject close to my heart, and I believe close to yours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got this First Amendment thing that sort of protects us, sort of.
I could just roll out my whole thing about it because I thought about it when I saw the topic. But my relationship with it is just with the non-legal, the concept of it that people just carry in their daily lives and the ways that it comes up amongst common men. And I've been accused of squashing freedom of speech before when I had a little computer game project that attracted a few thousand people, and I was occasionally moderating discussions and daily chats using the Discord app, which I despise and no longer have to use, and I love it. I had a channel with 2,000 people that liked to discuss, playing this game that I was working on, and there were all kinds of people, and it was 2016 to 2019, so during the first Trump administration. So lots of gamers are white guys, a lot of them, and
the bros,
beyond bros, but a large number of them have some really similar opinions that come from similar places. And anyway, I always tried to make it clear as much as I could tastefully what was acceptable or not in the channel of discussion that I created and moderated and created the topic, the reason for. And then I had a detailed terms of service for using my product that was written by a lawyer at some point, and then I kind of revised it for myself. But it covered everything fine, and when you clicked the button to play the game, you agreed to it.
It probably said some of the typical boilerplate stuff. Be nice.
Yeah. No harassment.
Yeah.
No harassment based on age, sex, gender, religion, nationality, No impersonation of other people, no impersonation of staff, that kind of thing. Staff has the right to refuse service and all of that for violation of the rules. No cheating, no defrauding us, no selling our product for money. But mostly it was the behavior harassment stuff that matters there.
And people did not want to abide by that, I'm guessing. Some people.
Yeah, so we had a trans player. We had a trans player who, in their name in the chat part, which is completely separate from the game, it's just a chat channel we ran and people talked about it. And they had pronouns she, her in there. And some people who were kind of like had been around a few years and probably donated some money, so felt entitled to say some stuff. Took donations. It was nonprofit, but donations to run it. It cost about $2,000 a year, and they were saying some very mean and hateful things. I don't want my tax dollars to pay for your surgery, and you know your people should be wiped out. So that was not a minor thing. And this wasn't the first time I dealt with Trump supporters, people spamming the N-word, all sorts of racist memes, and I always just kick them out of the chat channel, and then if they do it in the game, I kick them out of the game. I don't go crazy. But anyway, I kicked these people out of the chat channel, and I put up a big statement. I was like, hey, that's not what we're here for. We're playing a video game. It's nothing to do with all of this.
And they cried, censorship.
They cried censorship. They screenshotted me saying it and posted it all over Reddit. And a bunch of people quit. And then I doubled down and I said, it's in the rules, guys. And they're like, freedom of speech to the topic. And I said, that doesn't exist here. This is a nonprofit video game project, a chat channel with rules that you agreed to when you came here. So then they screenshotted and quoted me, freedom of speech doesn't exist here. And
which is true.
And thousands of people left the channel. Hundreds of people quit playing the game. We were at that point, after 5 years, we had like 120. Anytime you went to the website, I had the number of people that were on our server. And it was always like 120, 130, 140, maybe more on the weekends. Pretty good for a little free, independent, and maybe about 200 people a day logging in. That was just who was online at any given time. But that went down to about 20, 30, and then like 15, and then the donation bank dried up, and I shut it down a few years ago. And so my relationship with freedom of speech is the idea of it that most people carry here that is usually used as a shield of entitlement to be an asshole. The end.
Well, a couple things about that. First of all, the First Amendment only applies to the government. People tend to forget that. They think that the First Amendment applies to everything, and it doesn't. It tells if you look at the words, the government shall make no law abridging freedom of speech or freedom of the press. I said, paraphrasing it, and I should have bring it up and put it on the screen, but I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy. And in historically, before there was all this social media, where were your places that you could go express your opinion? You could stand on the street corner, bring a orange crate, stand on it, and holler. You could
access cable channels, or
even before that, you could write a letter to the editor.
Which I've done.
Yeah, they weren't required to print it. Mm-hmm. I've had one. I wrote one letter to Newsweek, I think, that got printed. And it was like 6 paragraphs, and it showed up as 2. And it wasn't controversial. It was just they had a story on alcoholism and recovery, and I had some comments based on what they were saying. Nothing particularly controversial, just kind of adding a little bit of information. Right. I think that's it. that's all I've had printed.
My letter to the editor experience briefly is kind of interesting. there was a cemetery in the middle of town here, Marion, Illinois, and there was a Black Hawk War and a Mexican war grave in the middle of it. And I was especially back then into finding old graves and forgotten places in the forest around here. But it was tire tracks through it, smashed 40 bottles. It was a mess. So I wrote a letter to the editor because this is shameful to admit. One day there was a Veterans Day parade bisecting the town, and I was late to work because of it. And it was major annoying to be late. It made the day terrible. So I wrote a letter to the editor about, well, if we're going to cut the town in half and make this big deal, why do we have rotting veterans' graves, some of the oldest ones in the area, in the middle of town, and nobody even knows about them? I've lived here for 25 years at that point and never heard of it. And Becky Malkovich, John Malkovich's sister, was working at the Southern Illinoisan at that time, and she intercepted that angry letter, and she instead called me and then called the mayor and kind of cornered him and made him pledge to put a little budget to mow it and clean it up and mark it, and then did a little story. So I was kneeling by the Black Hawk War grave, and then 5 years later, they stopped maintaining it. It's in the exact same state now. But there's a 9/11 mural right across the street from it that's like 200 feet long. So, yeah. And nobody from 9/11, nobody from Marion died in 9/11.
Yeah. So you shamed him a little bit, and you say you're doing all of this.
Yeah.
But something that is something in the exact same frame of reference, the exact same situation, is you're neglecting. Perhaps you should pay attention. Well, if you had approached them nicely and said, "Oh, look over here, I know you guys care about this, but you may have forgotten that this exists. Can you put a little energy, maybe a little money here?" They might have. Instead, you whacked them on the PP.
Well, I wrote a letter to the editor too, because I thought that, and that was kind of the end of the time when I'll do something about it. I'll write a letter to the editor but now I don't even care about this town. So, or their hypocrisy or whatever. So,
yeah, as you've described it, well, actually, because we didn't ever officially start the show, let's see. Mm-hmm. Here we go. This is from the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Fort Mill, South Carolina, in the shadow of Charlotte, the foot of Mount Belzoni, the buckle of the Bible Belt. I'm Gary Pierce. And then do you even know what to do with your side of this? You did this once before.
From the rashy, itchy, deepest red crotch of Illinois at the confluence of the Illinois and the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. I did that last time too. I said Illinois instead.
Illinois. Yep. Yeah, and then you admit who you are.
Admit?
You say your name.
Dale.
Yep. And I already did the thing that flies through, but I'll do it again just because I love it so much. But I'll skip doing the used to be a radio god part, although I like that. I didn't know I could sing. It turns out I can't, but with a lot of rehearsal and practice and no auto-tune, I was able to do that. So, yes, the federal government, the state governments are not allowed to tell you what you can and cannot say, but all of this private stuff is. And then I'll go back to the federal government, and the state governments can and cannot tell you what you cannot say, cannot tell you what you can and cannot say, and amend that to say, with certain exceptions, of which there are many. Mm-hmm. The most famous one is you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. Mm-hmm. There's an interesting story about that. That I'm not an expert in, but I have refreshed my memory on it recently enough that I have Oh, by the way, your phone battery is getting close to dead, and when your phone battery is dead, we're done.
It's at 26% right now.
Yep. Well, so we'll see what happens.
It's
so,
like me. It does its best work with its last 10%, though.
Okay. So this that phrase came up in a Supreme Court decision. It was uttered by the Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it was in a case where, if I'm remembering the details even vaguely correctly, somebody was out plastering the town with posters. Were they opposing U.S. Joining the war? Was it a labor dispute? I don't remember. In any case, the issue got before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that whatever this guy was doing, or these people were doing, posting, slapping their posters up, was going to incite violence and disrupt the peaceful harmony of America. And so they said, I'm sorry, you do not have the freedom of speech to put these posters up claiming whatever they claim. And he used the phrase, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater, as an illustration, if not a justification, for what his point was.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all hold that up these days as the bedrock principle about where you can limit freedom of speech. Turns out that Supreme Court decision was overturned a decade or three later. So does that mean now you can shout fire in a crowded theater? No.
Well, you totally can. What was January 6th, right?
Well, yeah.
So the rally before it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can physically stand up and shout fire in a crowded theater, but you're going to be arrested for it.
Yeah,
and you're probably not being free speech is not your defense. If you want to try for a defense, in doing that, it's for one thing, there better be a fire, and if there's not, then you're
proof that you thought there was one. Yeah. Beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah. I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on the internet, but
I could think of some lawyers and some clients who could get away with that at this point. We've seen it happen before our very eyes.
Oh, the legal system now is just a shambles. It's we're in deep trouble for the next few years. So anyway, there's plenty of other things that Supreme Courts have over the years have decided that you can't do. The amendment doesn't say, what the heck? I'm going to dial it up because we better take a look at it.
In a while.
First Amendment.
Blow the dust off.
It's actually harder to come up with.
I was going to say, maybe don't trust a .gov website.
Well, I'm here at the Bill of Rights Institute, whatever they are. But the First Amendment says, do I want to join the network? No, and don't show me that again. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, so Trump's
already broken 3 of those points.
Yeah. So the little piece right in the middle there is abridging the freedom of speech. And interestingly, the next phrase, or of the press, the press is one of the few institutions, private institutions, that is called out in the Constitution for special protection. So think about that. Yeah.
Pretty progressive.
Yep. Okay, so it doesn't say abridging the freedom of speech with certain exceptions. It's a flat out statement. They weren't thinking about how to. Well, when they were debating the language of that clause, and there's all kinds of historical references. The Federalist Papers and stuff that I haven't gone through to see what, but they document the debates and the points that people made before they arrived at this language. I'm sure the idea of exceptions was discussed at some point, but it's not there. So the Supreme Court created exceptions, and now I will ask. Let's see what happens. What? Put this on the screen. What are exceptions? And somebody is all ready to go here with Google to the First Amendment. Yeah, this is the AI overview. Defamation, false statements of fact that harm someone's reputation. Obscenity, child pornography, incitement, that's that fire in a crowded theater. Commercial speech, speech with the purpose of initiating a business transaction has less protection than other forms of speech. Content-based restrictions.
I want to see there's citations for some of this, though, on this AI overview.
Oh, yeah, they've got links to go find out. If you want me to click on one and go in depth, we can.
Not necessarily. Because, again, as this applies to our daily lives, this is all just in theory until it happens.
Yeah, until you get arrested for it.
Yeah.
Harassment, the right of schools and colleges to employees to harass others in their professional capacities are narrower than the free speech rights of students. Interesting. Criminal conduct.
And each of these comes with its own set of technicalities too, like defamation. That's a very deep pool there. And there are things like parody and, that can shield you.
Yeah. So it's not a really long list, but it's significant, and people have been caught up in it. And in terms of the online stuff, something that people have not understood well, and it is not a pure left and right, liberal and conservative argument. When you look at things like your Discord message board, Facebook, YouTube comments, Twitter, X, Twitter, a bunch of the others, first of all, they're all private. They're privately owned. They're not run by the government. And so they are not subject to the First Amendment. But people have complained and said, well, you can't censor my speech on them. And the reaction is, yes, we can, because it's private. And they sue and they lose. But one of the things that affects that is something called Section 230 of some code, some Digital Millennium Act or something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, once again, here in real time,
the Digital Millennium Copyright.
I'll dig it out because I don't think there may be a copyright.
DMCA.
What is Section 230? Oh, the Communications Decency Act.
Decency. I don't know if we need acts that say decency on the books. We're pretty slow.
Yep. So basically, Section 230, very small section of federal law, says that platforms can limit your speech. They can moderate it, and they can kick you off entirely. And on the other hand, if they let you say something, they are not liable for what you say, with certain exceptions.
That sounds corporately convenient.
Well, it does. Some of the exceptions are that if they catch you doing some of those things the First Amendment will let you do, defamation, I'm not good at remembering all the specifics, but there's a few things that they'll let you do. Let me see if this is going to help me. No, it's not helping me fast enough. There's a few exceptions to what Section 230 says. The platforms can't allow you to just spew obscenity, defamation, a few other things, but they have so they're required to moderate that. They have the legal framework, the legal backing to moderate anything you say. They don't have to let you say anything. And on the other hand, if you stay within those limited guidelines, they can let you say anything you want. So they're not liable. If you come on and say something highly inflammatory, apparently not defamatory, but inflammatory, they're not liable for that. You could be liable for it personally, but they're not. So, people, if they're going to sue for something like that, they will sue for whoever's got the deepest pockets. And so if I go on Facebook and say something that is really bad, I love the Nazi Party. Nazis are good. Nobody can sue me for that. Or nobody can sue Facebook for that. They can try to sue me. I probably, that's probably still part of my freedom of speech, but they can't sue Facebook for that.
You would gain many followers on Facebook, not against their community standards at all.
Not anymore, anyway.
Well, it wasn't before either. I used to be an incessant reporter, and it's gotten worse and worse to the point that I just don't anymore. There's no point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting to me. It just makes me think about gun lawsuits against manufacturers. They build a machine that has one purpose: to destroy human flesh as rapidly and efficiently as possible. Many of these guns, anyway. Some are for hunting, sure, but some are definitely not. They can say sport or show or whatever, but they're designed to destroy and maim human flesh as efficiently as possible, but they're not responsible if somebody uses it to its peak efficiency in a grocery store or a school. But
yeah, if they do exactly what it was designed to do.
Right. But some of these things like WhatsApp and I can't think of too many of these, but there are a lot of these apps, that make it really easy for old men to prey on young girls, to the point where it's well known that this happens, and the companies will still shield themselves from responsibility. It's just insane. Like Mark Zuckerberg knew the amount of misinformation and where it was coming from, Russia. And one of the last times I reactivated my Facebook account, I tagged Mark Zuckerberg. Not really him, of course. It doesn't make that possible. And I called him a Nazi bootlicker. But I didn't get banned for that because I'm not noticeable and I didn't direct it the right way. But still, I was allowed to say it, I guess. But yeah, it disturbs me. What's the word? Removing yourself from responsibility. Anyway, obfuscating. And that's what our entire legal system is based on, and that's what freedom of speech gets entangled in.
Yep. Well, if somebody wants to know more about how the First Amendment got not created, but interpreted, kind of starting with that fire in a crowded theater thing, here's what I recommend: going to this place. It's the Legal Talk Network, and this is their podcast called "Make No Law." Let me see if I can make that a little bigger. That's not really working. the Make No Law podcast. It was a limited series. I think they did 4 or 5 episodes of it. And it was fun to listen to. It was, there's the fire in a crowded theater.
I'm trying to think of examples in my lifetime. I think flag burning was a big case that was decided. What else? But again, my relationship is just the everyday life of a commoner, not the legal side. I've not involved myself or said anything in the right place to be in that world.
Do you feel restrained from saying things? Are there things you would want to go online in some place?
Yeah,
You're not on Facebook anymore. I'm not sure where it would be.
Online, I am reactivated temporarily because of the death of a friend recently to connect with some people. Actually, yes. In real life, I don't go out enough. I'm a stay-at-home dad right now. And if I was out in public more around here, yeah, there are a lot of dudes with MAGA hats that probably have guns on them in public. And I think about that. I wouldn't just yell the things I would back in my 20s during the post 9/11 Bush years when I was trying to be irreverent and wake people up. But
so it's a personal safety thing. It's not a government restriction thing. In public, it's a personal safety thing. I wouldn't, yell at a Trump sticker the same way I would during the 2016 now, because I could probably get myself shot if I wanted to today, just yelling F you at every Trump sticker I saw. But online, I do, unfortunately, I want to say many things every day that I know, if we're scanned by the right bot or reported by the right conservative, could get referred to the Secret Service or FBI. And those things are exactly what you think they would be. Like there's a certain guy that I wish hadn't failed in his task, that kind of thing. I don't want to leave on my blue sky or post on Facebook and just leave out there. And some days I wake up in the morning, I get angry, I think about things, and I put this whole long thing on my blue sky, and then I'm like, you know what? One wrong report, and I'm in court trying to explain that I don't actually have the ability to carry out this threat. And it's nothing that bad, but it's stuff that should be said if you hate Nazis. So I wanted to post the other day, my grandpa killed so many Nazis flying over UK. And I thought I probably shouldn't even leave that out because things slip a little bit further in one direction. And like I said, bots are aggregating posts and looking people up, and we're buying new private prisons and camps, and there might be room for everybody who said everything online if things keep sliding downhill. So yeah, I do feel that way heavily now that we bring it all out. Yeah, real life and on the internet. Just because I have those opinions, which I think are normal, common sense, human, empathetic, pro-living opinions. But I'm trying to dig something out. Here in Washington Post. This is an interesting article that I read not too long ago. Okay, it wants me to subscribe or sign in. I can sign in because I actually pay the money. How hard are they going to make it for me?
We're at 16% battery. The screen will darken in a moment,
yep.
And after 10%, it will tell me there's not enough battery to use the camera.
So this is what they call a deep read. Children joked about school shootings. Then the sheriff sent them to jail. I think it was Appalachia High School shooting in Georgia. And after some school shootings, a sheriff in that area started paying very careful attention to social media and what kids were saying on social media, and kids being kids. And
yeah,
I don't know if
insensitive and yeah.
Well, they were basically talking about, I'm going to shoot somebody or I'm going to bomb the school.
Yeah.
And the sheriff would dig them out and go to their house and put them in handcuffs and take them to jail. And perp walk them, even if they were well under 18. They could be as young as 11. And perp walk them, let the media know that it was coming. That's what a perp walk is. And take pictures of these underage people. The point of bringing this out is it's got some First Amendment implications for everybody. But it's also, for me, it is talking about journalism because the article itself stays very dispassionate about things. They are covering some very volatile issues, and they went in depth, and they went and interviewed adults and as many of the kids as they were able to interview, and they never in the article take a point of view. They don't need to. They'll let you figure out your point of view. It's kind of like what Fox News tries to say. We distort, you decide. I don't know if playing this, 34 seconds worth. Yeah, I think let's try to play this.
This year, I didn't want no drama at all. So I was telling him that. I was like, no, I don't want no drama this year. Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, yeah, blah, blah. And I said, I'll just blow him up, and that's it. I know that's really bad.
But why would you put that into writing on social media for everyone to see?
I don't know. I really don't know why I did it. And I know you don't want that answer, but I don't know why I just posted it, but I did.
That's what it sounds like when you talk to a kid who did something like that. I did it. I don't know why.
Quickly reading those posts first, that for them to have put those posts up permanently is really stupid and really terrible, regardless of their intent. They should have been scared, but it didn't need to be public. And the law didn't need to be broken. But everybody was wrong in that article. But a quick relation to my life, and I can't remember if I told the story on here about how school shooter hysteria ruined my life at one point. I probably don't have enough battery to tell it now, but that's an interesting one. Yeah, I don't have enough battery to get into it right now. But I mean, I was in high school from 98 to 2002, and Columbine and Heath High School and Jonesboro, Arkansas, I think, all happened in a row. And my school was looking for their school shooter. They were hunting through all the weird kids and waiting for someone to say something weird. And I happened to on one day. And it wasn't a shooting threat or anything like that, but they took it way too far. And that's why I didn't really go to college after I went to high school. That was my senior year, and they screwed it all up. But I could tell that in detail some other time.
We will come back to it.
Because it's not a freedom of speech issue, really. It's more of a hysteria issue, a small town hysterics issue.
Yeah. Yeah, my main point in showing that Washington Post stuff was to show how journalism can dig out important and volatile issues without taking a side. And to point out that, first of all, it's the Washington Post, which a lot of conservatives say is all very liberal leaning, except for now in the editorial department. They're not going to be, but in their reporting, they'll be, in theory, untouched by the editorial side still. We'll see. I'm still subscribing to it until I see the heavy hand of management get into the reporting side, which I'm sure if it happens, we will know about it real soon, real quick. So
in my peer circles, I don't know anybody who reads it or takes it seriously anyway, because it's to the right of everyone I know, probably. Yeah. But NPR is also for them.
To the right, yeah. Where do they go? Drudge? Well, no.
Like I do.
Daily Kos?
Somewhat trustworthy aggregations, and then vetting it yourself or through your own knowledge and experience. individually, case by case.
Yeah, and that's what Sarah was talking about when she was pulling out the media that she was talking about. But all of those sources are not primary sources. They don't
Right.
go to the primary source, the actual people
Right.
or institutions that are doing things. They ultimately rely on the mainstream media having the access to find out what's going on in these places and reporting it, and then they take that reporting and they comment on it.
Yeah. So, well, some days then in the aggregation stream, it's, the AP, or it's Reuters, or sometimes occasionally TMZ reports well on something that's newsworthy, or
TMZ will go to original
the Daily
sources.
Beast. Yeah.
Yeah, Daily Beast will go to original sources.
Yeah. So, but
But-
it's just article by article, writer by writer within things. There's no single institution I trust, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I have to vet it myself as I read it. And if the point of view is apparent for either side, I usually abandon it and look for raw information.
Yeah, if you can find it, good luck.
Yeah.
Yep. How much battery have you got left?
We're at 13%.
Okay.
So it's going to give me a notice here in just a second.
Okay, so real quick, totally shifting gears and literally shifting gears. Personal stuff for documentation for the family. This is my dash. This is my dash cam from just a couple of days ago, and there's going to be a bad word in here. I'll keep the volume kind of low. This is what happened. I'm driving, coming up on somebody who's going to pull into a driveway. I'm thinking, I'll just go to the left lane.
Ow! God damn it.
Except that there was somebody in the left lane. They're pretty much in my blind spot. So yeah, I had a little crash. Nobody was hurt. Nobody, property damage, but no injuries. And this is the car that I hit. It was driven by a young woman, teenager, and she was mentally shaken up, but not physically injured. And that was what happened in front of my car. She was passing me a little bit, as you saw in the video, not fast. We were both below the speed limit. But it caught that front bumper and pulled it off, and so it's for this ancient car, it's still not a total. Damage is about $2,000, and insurance company is going to pay for mine and pay for hers because it was my fault. And then I did not get a ticket. That's the cop that came and took the report, but he didn't see it, so he couldn't issue me a ticket. So I don't have that on my record, which I'm glad. And because my wife Cindy wants me to have, because I'm 75, wants me to have more safety features than a 2007 RAV4 can provide, I have a brand new used 2022 RAV4, which has all those lane keeping and notifying you if there's somebody in that lane features. So.
Is that a mandatory emission testing station there? Is that required there?
Not in South Carolina. It is in North Carolina, but not in South Carolina. The car kept passing without any trouble in North Carolina until we moved here in 2021. It probably would still do fine. But, we're a freedom state here in South Carolina. So, we
don't have that stuff in Illinois, even though we're a blue state.
Interesting. And North Carolina being a purple state, they've had it long before when I moved in 1990. Had to get all that stuff right away.
When I moved to Oregon, they had it there, but I just had to go somewhere and tell them what kind of car I had, and they said, "Oh yeah, those are fine." So it was new enough. Yeah, they said there's no way it could be broken enough to spew out that much, I guess. So
yeah, I think in North Carolina, if it gets old enough, you get exempted out, and these days, if it's new enough, you get exempted out. But Most cars still have to get it. All right, so
10% here. My screen is dark.
yep, we are wrapping it up. This has been the J-less Jay and Gary show. I still have
You got half of them here
I still have Jay
inside my DNA.
in his little placeholder. Yes, we both share Jay's DNA, and God, we miss him so bad.
With him too.
Yeah.
You share 100% with him, actually. So we've got more than him. Got more than one.
Yeah. Miss him terribly. Miss him doing a podcast. Just miss him in life in general. Both of us were getting closer to him when he finally passed away over a year or two. So, well, for you, a few more years, but it was distant relationships for both of us in the past, and then they got closer. So Sarah has not showed up. We don't know where she is. Hopefully she's doing something useful, and we'll come back and say, I'm sorry, I missed it entirely. Maybe a misunderstanding on the timing. Who knows?
Probably wrangling a 3-year-old or tired from wrangling a 3-year-old.
Yeah, 4-year-old now. He's 4. And your kid is standing up and walking.
10 months, yeah.
Yeah, so you're in deep trouble.
She's talking too.
What's her vocabulary now?
She can say doggy. She can say dada, mama. I'm teaching her to say 1 for her first birthday and hold up her finger, and we're cracking it.
Excellent.
She can say baba also.
All right, so we will see you guys next time we do a Jay and Gary show. Who knows? They're totally random, whenever we feel like it, which I'm told is absolutely the wrong way to create an audience, because you have to give something to the audience on a regular basis and they get expecting it. Sorry, we're not even doing this for an audience. We're doing it for ourselves and historical purposes for our family. And if you want to watch, happy to have you join us. Come take a look. So, Dale, see you next time. See Sarah hopefully sometime in the near future. And until then, over and
Out.
out. Yep. And let me push the unrecord button.